What's up guys, I'm J-Man, and let's talk about all the actors that have played the Dark Knight. They've all been different, with each bringing their own unique interpretation and all having their own approval or rejection from audiences everywhere. But which one is really the best or the worst? Well, let's discuss it right now. This is... Now for this list, I'm actually not going to be listing them in numerical order. I'm actually going to be talking about them in the order of their release. Also, I'm going to be talking about both their portrayal of Batman and Bruce Wayne. Also, I'm excluding things like Batman the Movie and Batman Mask of the Phantasm because those were movies based on TV shows. And I won't be talking about any actor that did the voice of the character in video games either. It'll just be the live-action films and the 5 actors that portrayed him. Also, I would never declare any of this as fact, it's all strictly my opinion, so without further ado, let's rank the cinematic Batman actors. So first there was Michael Keaton. Now when he was first cast, he received a lot of backlash because at the time he was really only known as a comedic actor. Some actually made the argument that that was actually why he was perfect for the role, because people wouldn't suspect a person like him to be Batman. And to everyone's surprise, he succeeded admirably. In my opinion, he's definitely one of the best Batmans ever. But as Bruce Wayne, it's a little iffy for me. Not that he's bad or anything, but Bruce is kind of known as a confident businessman. Keaton plays more like the everyman, like a guy who doesn't really belong in his own life and would be better off if he settled down and led a quiet life. However, as Batman, he's almost perfect. He's dark and mysterious. He's quiet while also threatening. He's more downplayed, which I feel is perfect for the Caped Crusader. So for that, he's ranked number 3. Next there's Val Kilmer, and I actually think his Batman is kind of underrated. As Bruce Wayne, he's definitely more of a businessman than Michael Keaton. In a way, he's more the ideal Bruce Wayne, the handsome, charming philanthropist, and as Batman, he's more the traditional hero, always doing good and is even referred to in the film as a superhero.
Not every girl makes a superhero's night table.
If I was a superhero, I could definitely get into the superhero gig.
In some ways, I kind of prefer him to Michael Keaton. He's definitely closer to Bruce Wayne, and in some ways, as Batman. His voice seems good for it, and he's even got better fight scenes. Heck, even his tech is a little cooler than Keaton's. Unfortunately, he gets a lower ranking because he's less downplayed and pretty corny too.
It's the car, right? Chicks love the car.
And Batman is not a traditional hero, so as much as I hate to put him this low, he's gonna have to stick with 4th. Then there's George Clooney, and...
Hi, Freeze. I'm Batman.
Nice catch.
You break it, you buy it.
Freeze, you're mad.
He's obviously not Batman. He's just George Clooney if George Clooney was Batman. It's really a shame too, because I feel like in a better movie, Clooney could have made a good Batman, but as it is, he had very little to work with and even to this day still makes fun of it himself.
Didn't you apologize to the crowd at Comic-Con for Batman and Robin?
I always apologize for Batman. But, you know, I thought at the time this was going to be a very good career move. It wasn't.
So yeah, he definitely gets last ranking. Next there's Christian Bale. Now I have to admit, I used to not be a fan of Christian Bale as an actor simply because I wasn't a fan of his acting, and from what I've read, he's also a bit of a prima donna on the set of his movies. But I have to say, I'm more a fan of him now after seeing him in this role. He's almost near perfect. As Batman, he is intimidating. As Bruce Wayne, he does the playboy thing really well. The one thing that really holds him back from being the best Batman, however, is actually something that all the previous Batman share. And that is, they made him out to be too much of a good guy. They've still heroicized him too much to the point where he's still just the ideal hero. It's clear he's just putting on a facade for show, and it just seems too obvious at times. Like it's clear he has something to hide. Some might make the argument that that's who Bruce Wayne and Batman is, just a guy wearing a disguise, both as Batman and Bruce Wayne. I'll talk about why I don't agree with that in my top spot, but for now, Christian Bale definitely gets number 2. Also, don't get me wrong, what's the first thing you think of when you think of Christian Bale's Batman?
Where were the other drugs going? Someone knows where he is. Where's the trigger? This city just showed you that it's full of people ready to believe in good.
Don't act like you haven't at least snickered at it. So with all those out of the way, I think it's clear what takes my top spot, and before I get a lot of hate for this, just hear me out. For Christian Bale, I felt like it was too obvious that it was all a facade, but with Ben Affleck, he makes it feel more natural, like it's just who he really is, the arrogant, condescending businessman who chases women. And when he's Batman, he's a lot more brutal and scary, just how I imagine Batman should be. With the other films, they were too soft on the violence, and even though the Dark Knight trilogy was definitely more heavy with it, it was all too theatrical and I felt like it didn't push any boundaries. Affleck's fight scenes are more hard-edge, and not just for the sake of being hard-edge, but really because they're more tactical without being overly showy. More than that, he's actually scary. He's intimidating. If I actually met this Batman in real life, I'd be shitting my pants. At first I thought the voice modulator was a bit much and sounded a little too much like Jigsaw's voice, but it's actually perfect because since Bruce is a famous billionaire, it would only make sense that he should disguise his voice so no one recognizes it. And of course, we can't talk about Batfleck without talking about his use of guns and killing people in the movie. Now first of all, I've already made several videos explaining how it's both understandable and makes enough sense for him to do so, plus if anything it just adds more to his character development. In any case, it all depends on the setting and context in which he is placed. This movie and universe wants to be more grounded in reality, so he would have to take some risks to actually be feared by criminals. Every story about Batman has been different. Sometimes he's been in stories where he operates on rules and absolutes, sometimes he's been in stories where he operates on morals and guidelines. Either way, Affleck's Batman is a story where his ideals are challenged and he eventually does become the true Batman. The irony here is that people are actually right to criticize him in a way to say that he doesn't do anything the real Batman would do. To that, I just say, that's the entire point. For me, it's not just about the way he's portrayed, but also his development as a character. With the other films, it was all about working forward, him growing into being Batman. But with this film, it's all about working backwards, him becoming less like Batman and essentially being reborn, as it were. And I really think that his Batman is really the best interpretation of the character we've ever gotten. Why? Because we finally have a version of him that doesn't portray him as a hero. He's a crime fighter, yes, but he's a symbol that literally operates above the law. That's what makes him such a powerful character. He's scary, he's brutal, he's tactically smart, and he's definitely the #1 rank. So that was my ranking on the cinematic Batman actors. What do you think? Who's your favorite? Whatever it is, don't be shy, leave a reply. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and please support me on Patreon. For just $5 a month, you can request topics for new videos, or I can give your name a shout out. And of course, if you like this video, you can like, comment, and subscribe to the J-Man. Keep looking deep.